Rise and shine, YouTube. Today we are talking about two mice that I actually wish I did like more, right? You got the Sony Inzone Mouse A, and then you got the NP01s Ergo over here. Now, both of these mice are medium shaped mice, but feel larger in my hand size, right? I have, after watching a Jaku video today and seeing him measure his hand, and going back to a Rocket Jump Ninja video and seeing him measure the hand at the same time, I remeasured and I have actually 16.5 centimeter hands by 10 centimeters. So yeah, I have larger hands than I've been saying the entire time, but they're still small as hands, right? I feel every hump, curve. I feel every difference in millimeter, right? I feel all the differences and all the weights, sizes, everything, because I have such tiny, small Fortnite hands. But first, let's talk about the Sony. We're going to go through clicks, shape, everything about it, and we're going to talk about why it just doesn't work for me and why it might work for somebody who has larger hands than me. When it comes down to it, the Sony mouse or Inzone Mouse A comes in at 119.8 millimeters long, comes in at 64.2 millimeters wide, and it comes in at 40.2 millimeters tall. Now, looking at the bottom of this versus something even like the Superlight, you can tell that it is a much larger feeling mouse, width-wise and height-wise. You can see that there. Even though the hump isn't too much larger or taller than a Superlight hump, the way it's positioned makes it feel much taller than it appears, right? So, to give you an example, the Superlight is 125 millimeters long, it's 63.5 millimeters wide, and 40 millimeters tall. So, right off the rip, in my hand, you will see how it is much more narrow. You get much more mobility in your hand, and overall, it's way more comfortable than the Sony Mouse A is in total, right? So let's talk about how this feels in hand, right? So how I hold this, bada bing, bada boom, you can tell that it is very wide, right? You can tell that it fills up my hand, and especially with the palm contact with the hump, that you just feel the entire mouse the entire time. Where I get a little more uncomfortable, it's not the tallness and the feeling of the hump, it's the width on the right hand side here. You see that my ring finger kind of sits along the mouse, but that's where the mouse actually is. So it kind of, I feel that whole left side of the mouse just digging into a portion of my ring finger, and it just is not comfortable over time, right? It gets a little sore, it feels weird, right? It just doesn't work at all, that side of the mouse. Left side feels perfectly fine. My tracking sometimes felt really good, right? But over the course of the night, hand starts, getting a little sore, gets a little uncomfortable. Tracking goes down, accuracy goes down. It's all about how a mouse feels in hand, how comfortable it is, but also just how it makes you aim, right? And how everything about the mouse comes together in total to get you that experience, right? Shape-wise, mouse is just not it for me, right? It's too wide. It's a little too tall for my hand size. Now let's see if you have 18 centimeter long hands, little longer fingers, little wider hand, maybe 10.5 centimeters, 11 centimeters, right? This mouse actually would probably be a very good contender, right, for one of your favorite mice. Even though it's $150, right? For larger hands, I would think that this mouse feels very good. I even watched Fresh Review's video, and he praises this mouse. But he also has, I probably double the size of my hands. Yeah, he has pretty decent size grippers over there. You know what I mean? But for me, the mouse just doesn't do it, right? There's a little more nitpicking to be done, right? I think the clicks are a little too loose, right? Where you don't really get a good feedback underneath your fingers when you do click. So say if you have close back or IMs in, you might not even notice you're clicking, right? Because you don't have that tactile feedback that like something like a G Pro has, or even the NP01s Ergo had, or even the Final Mouse Prophecy. Yes, I base swapped my clicks with my Poseidon because, I mean, the blue on blue looks perfect, right? I even got a blue USB cable that works perfectly with all the dongles, but the clicks feel even better on an older mouse. So I don't think the Sony opticals are worth it. I like Vaxi's clicks. I like Pulsar Crazy Light clicks, right? Their opticals, Vaxi's clicks, they feel a million times better than what are in this mouse. The scroll wheel is also very loose, right? Scrolling is nice, but going to actuate, I feel like the actuation point is a little too loose for me, because even just scrolling, if you put down an ever so slight tiny bit of force, you will get the scroll to actually actuate. So I don't know if it's just my copy or what, but yeah, the main click, scroll wheel just aren't it for me. Side buttons are actually pretty nice. They are much more tactile, much more crisp feeling than the main buttons and the scroll wheel. So that's pretty much it. This mouse comes in at 48 grams. Weight balance is pretty much perfect. I have no issues there, right? It feels very, very light in hand for its size, but it's just too big. The stock skates actually felt really good on cloth and glass and steel, right? And you have the power on button that also acts as a profile changer. So I think you have about six profiles you can set in the web-based software. Yes, Sony also has a web-based software for this mouse. You can click through them. I actually went back and set it to only one because you have to hold the button down to shut it off. And if you don't, you're going to change your profile as an accident. And you might be using 800 DPI instead of 16, or you might be on a completely different profile than you think. And you're like, why is my mouse feel weird? So heads up on that. But if you have larger hands, right, I feel like this mouse could be pretty good. Coating-wise, coating felt very good, even though it does pick up some oils off your fingers. But it never got slippery. It never got like clammy or oily. It felt very good in use. Just shape-wise, Sony doesn't work for me, right? It comes with the 8K polling, the 3950 sensor, all the top latest specs internally, it has. Just shape-wise, it's not for you, and that is why shape is king, because I honestly prefer the Superlight a lot lately versus a lot of mice because of how comfortable it is just over the course of the night. Same thing with a Final Mouse Small. I've been honestly loving these mice even more the more I use them because they're so comfortable. They're small, they fit my hand, right? But the Superlight fits my hand as well, where I can get a lot going. It's not too tall, too wide, or everything like that. Now, if you wanted to see if the Sony is the same thing as a Bolt, it is not, right? I'll show you underneath. You're probably like, what the heck happened to your Bolt? I'm going to do a mod to it to get the weight down a little bit, lower battery, but it's more narrow. It's way more narrow than the Sony mouse, and it feels way more comfortable in my hand, right? Even today, I will still swap to the Bolt and fry out because I feel much more locked in. I don't have the entire side of my ring finger, right, under the hump, making it feel uncomfortable over the course of the night. It feels good. The hump isn't too tall. It isn't too wide. The mouse is very good for small hands. And for every hand size. I think the Fanatic Bolt is an underrated shape, and it always has been. I just wish Sony, with the help of Fanatic, made an updated Bolt, and it would have been probably a perfect mouse. But now, let's talk about the second mouse in this video. The NP01s Ergo, right, comes in at, let me get the dimensions, 119.8 millimeters, 63 millimeters, and 38.5 millimeters. It sits at 59 grams. And, well, this mouse also doesn't fill that void for me. I mean, it does look beautiful on the pad. I mean, don't get me wrong. But in hand feel, I find it to be a little too big. Yeah. And it's primarily that hump in the back. So the hump pushes my hand up a little more to where I'm kind of forced into a little different grip unless I kind of like angle my pinky in a little more, but that gets uncomfortable the more I use that kind of grip. But I can't really bring this into my palm a lot. So vertical tracking on flying targets in Overwatch, even bringing the mouse in to control a recoil spray or a pattern of a gun. In like Farlight, I was like, oh, this feels even weird here and there. And I was like, Now, the side where my thumb is pretty good, but you can feel how the side kind of angles inward to the mouse. So it kind of angles down, where a little forward, it kind of angles off into a little more flat. But way my thumb is, if I wanted to get better at vertical tracking, I would have to hold it very awkwardly, and my thumb would be placed even lower. My ring finger would be placed even lower, and my pinky would sit on that big old rounded out corner. So it just feels awkward in hand to use this mouse, right? Versus an Ergo like the Superlight Dex. Yes, I have the Dex and I have the Superlight too. I feel like this mouse is, I'm going to say it, it's more comfortable than the NP01s Ergo, right? I can still bring it around. I don't have like an off-angled side, right? That angles downward. It just kind of comes flat. Over here, I have much more room to play around with, more height to play around with. I can do whatever I need to do. If you've been in my streams the last few nights, right? My target swapping was insane in Battlefield, right? Hitting nice, nasty flicks and just tracking wise it was not the best, right? But it still feels better than the NP01s Ergo because I can bring this mouse in. I have that nice deep thumb groove. I can track whatever I need to track. It's pretty damn good. But with this, it's kind of like, yeah, they took the NP01s and made the hump raised and made the slightly wider body, but I still feel like it's a little too large for my specific hand size. Once again, I will say if you have 18 centimeter long hands and slightly wider hands, you would probably really love this mouse. There are a lot of people who have this review out on this mouse who have larger hands than me, so I would go check them out. But for me, the mouse shape still just doesn't fill the void, right? I thought it was going to be better. I mean, it is better than the NP01s, right? I do agree with that. I do think this is their best NP01s shape. It's just this shape doesn't fit me. It doesn't fit my hand size. It doesn't fit my grip. It doesn't fit my preferences on a mouse. And for me, I'm probably just going to sell the Ergo, right? I'm going to return the Sony and be done with it. Now, stock skates, I did not like on cloth, right? I find that dots are way better. That's why I have dots on this and the XES, right? And I will actually talk about this in a second, but I feel like they just perform better, right? The stock skates had a little more tug to them, a little more control. I'm just not about that, right? Click-wise, though, clicks, QC, NP01s Ergo is amazing. QC-wise, it's perfect. I have no issues, right? You got the pre-travel, post-travel. There's really nothing going on there. Not really any side-to-side wobble. Clicks are crispy. They feel clean. They sound clean. You can have that nice tactile feedback under the fingers. Scroll wheel is nice. You have a nice textured scroll. Nice click. Side buttons are crispy. And at 59 grams, this is pretty damn balanced. So, overall, the Sony mouse and the Vaxi mouse just don't do it for small hands. For me specifically, if you were to pick up a Vaxi mouse, my go-to for small hands for Vaxi is still the XES. You have a little bit of width in the back to kind of get your palm in there, get a nice, really nice claw grip in there. You can place your fingers a little further, bring it back in, get that nice kind of pointer kind of aim. You can bring it back in your hand a lot more, right? It's a very, very good mouse, and I still continue to swap daily on this thing too, right? It's still a solid mouse around, and I feel like this is a better pickup than the NP01s Ergo if you are looking for a small-handed mouse from Vaxi. So, if you like this video, if you found this video to be very informative, right, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up. I got Vaxi PD150 coming out over the weekend, and the PEK, which is the same surface as the PD140, just different base. We're gonna have, I'll probably do a video on like the Superlight Dex and the Superlight V2 in 2025, right? For small hands, just kind of give you guys an option, right? And we have the Superlight 2 Compact coming out. We got a Final Mouse drop coming out, which will be shipped freaking the 20th already. So might, depending on the design or colorway or shape, right? If they try to go for a different shape, probably pick that up. I'm definitely picking up the Superlight 2C. But overall, I love it. I love this hobby, right? I love going in and finding the finer details of a mouse, of how it feels in hand, how I perform on it in game. That's why I have a shit ton of mice on the stands over there, in my dressers, right? I have a lot of mice. I've used a lot of mice over the years, and I kind of stick to a certain kind of style. But when a style is new and it fits for me, I love it. Just these two didn't do it. But I love you guys. Rise up. God bless. And we'll see you for the next review.